So yesterday we talked about what a big weekend it was for Colorado Buffaloes recruiting and Coach Prime. We talked about the talented guys out the transfer portal that Colorado was playing host to, and we also talked about the top unsigned prospect in the nation, Kermani McLean, reportedly taking a visit to Colorado. Well, today we need to talk about how this staff transitioned these visits into recruiting wins. Specifically, a big-time win they got from a visitor yesterday, Jordan Domineck, the edge from Arkansas. Today, we need to break this down. We need to talk about why this is such a big win and everything in between. But before we can, as always, y'all know the drill, I have got to hear from you. Hop down to the comments, give me a Y for yes or an N for no. Are you excited about this edition? And let me know what you're thinking. If you're new to the channel, be sure to subscribe. Hit that bell notification as I do constant college football content. You don't want to miss any of it. And if you enjoyed the content, be sure to like and comment down below. Those interactions are massive, and we're on a push to 20,000 subscribers. I'd love nothing more than to have you a part of this unbelievable community. But having said all that, let's jump right into this. And first and foremost, this is a big win in my opinion. Jordan Domineck is an individual who's put up intriguing production, and if we look, it's not just relegated to the Arkansas Razorbacks, though he really had a big season for Arkansas this past season. Domineck is an individual who began his career in the ACC with Georgia Tech, where he was a productive player, like I said. During the tenure of his career at Georgia Tech, he posted 9 sacks, which is already nice production, but whenever he transferred from Georgia Tech to Arkansas and the SEC, that production skyrocketed. In one season at Arkansas, he posted 7.5 sacks, a ton of quarterback hurries, and he was an incredibly disruptive player. And if you're Colorado, that's exactly what you want. One of the things we've talked about at length is what Colorado is going to do in the trenches, and they've already gotten some big wins. In the class of 2024, they have a blue-chip 4-star interior defensive lineman who could end up as a top 50 player in the nation, and I don't think anybody would be surprised about that in Omar White out the state of Georgia. But getting in guys such as Domineck to put on that edge to disrupt the quarterback is a huge win, especially when you have Travis Hunter in the secondary, and Colorado looks to get a big recruiting win in flipping Kermani McLean from Miami to the Buffaloes. And if they're able to do that, every bit of pressure they're able to put on a quarterback from their front is only going to make that secondary even more dangerous than they already are. Now, make no mistake about it, I'm still very interested to see what work Colorado is going to do in the interior of that defensive line, but they've gotten some big wins on the edge, and I think Domineck is a big win. And though in the intro we highlighted Jordan Domineck, he is not the only big-time win that Colorado's getting out the transfer portal on the edge. We also need to talk about another individual we talked about yesterday, Taylor Upshaw, the edge transferring from Michigan, who now finds his way to Boulder. Upshaw stands 6'4", 255 pounds per ESPN, and interestingly enough, both Domineck and Upshaw come from Florida, which is of note because there's another big-time name that Coach Prime is courting from the state of Florida, Kermani McLean. Now, not that that has any bearing in the battle for Kermani McLean, just an interesting little tidbit. What does Colorado get with Upshaw? Well, they get an individual that had 2 sacks this year. He had 2.5 sacks the year prior and 1 sack in 2020. Adding him in with Domineck, I think, is a big-time win. One of the things we've talked about is I expect Colorado's offense to come along for several different reasons. First and foremost, you had a quarterback transfer with you that you've seen play. Your son. You know what he can do. You know he's made the transition, and that's going to be big for the Colorado Buffaloes. Secondly, though, I think the offensive coordinator being Sean Lewis, someone who is a head coach, someone who's fielded the top offenses in the nation so often, you got to put faith in that guy. One thing we have got to remember, one thing we've talked about in the past, Coach Prime's defense at Jackson State would have been the #1 scoring defense in all of college football. I don't think anybody talks about how stingy that defense was for Jackson State, and if they can transition that level of play from Jackson State and bring that to Colorado, well, this defense is one that's going to click. The other thing I really like that they've done is they're getting experienced guys out the transfer portal, which is going to accelerate the time it takes for everybody to get everything down. It's much different when you have an understanding of what it takes to be successful as opposed to learning what it takes to be successful. What I mean when I say that is when you get a guy out of high school, that's a huge win, especially if you get a blue chip 4-star guy. That's great. But that individual has to learn how to make the transition from high school to college. That individual has to learn what it takes to be successful on a day in, day out basis, not only in their studies, but also in their pursuit of continuing their football career. Whenever you get a guy like Jordan Domineck, he's acutely aware of what those things look like. He knows what he needs to do on a day in and day out basis to improve. He knows what he needs to do to uphold the standard because he's done it. He's made that transition. He doesn't have to figure it out. And so you're eliminating things that guys have got to figure out, and you're giving them something else to focus on, which is learning this scheme, which is learning how to play with the guys around you. I cannot wait to see what this team looks like when it all comes together. They've made great hires. They've made big-time moves in the transfer portal, and this class continues to skyrocket as Coach Prime and Colorado continue to add to their top-ranked transfer portal class. Hop down to the comments, though. Let me know what you're thinking about this edition. That's it. See you.